Many of you may have heard of people offering this advice in the world because of the inequality that we're seeing in our world. People say, if you took all the money in the world, especially from the rich, and then you divided it equally amongst all people, wouldn't that be much better? And a lot of people, especially if you're a millennial, you say, that's right. But they say, if you took all the money in the world and you divided it equally and you gave it to everyone, after a few years, the money would end up again in the hands of the rich and the wise. Because it's not what you've got, it's how you use what you've got. Even the life you've been given apart from money, it's how you use your life, not how you've grown up. You can grow up in poverty, you can grow up in adverse circumstances, and you can excel. Why? Because of the wisdom that you receive from God that you use to build your life. Let me explain to you what I mean by this by giving you two illustrations. I was reading about a man in America who pretty much got it all. In 1988, William Bud Post won $16.2 million. Doesn't sound like a lot of money until you convert it into rands. 240 million rands. You'd think he'd be set for life. But this is what he said. He said, I wish it never happened. It was a total nightmare. His former girlfriend sued him for what she assumed, being his girlfriend, was her share of the winnings. His one brother hired a hitman to kill him so that he could inherit the money. Two of his other siblings got him involved in business, nagged him and nagged him and nagged him, ended up in a car business and a restaurant. Neither of those returned money, and he started to have serious tensions in his whole family. Well, eventually he got so freaked out with all this attention, all this money, he ended up in debt. A debt collector came to collect money, 240 million rand. He took a gun and he fired a shot over the guy's head. Well, as a result, he ended up in prison. He wins this lottery, ends up in prison, 15 million rand in debt. It shows you it's not what you're given, it's what you use. And it's not how much money you get, it's the wisdom for living your life. Many people fail for lack of wisdom, not for lack of resources. And it's so important to realize it, because in South Africa we can feel like if you just gave me something, I'd be fine. No, it's not true. You can start with nothing, and you can make something if you've got wisdom. So let's look at 4 ways to receive the wisdom of God. And I'm going to spend a bit of time on the first one, because the first one is the foundation. Number 1 today, you need to fully understand the 3 basic types of wisdom. There are 3 kinds of wisdom that operate every day in our world. And it's important for you to understand them so that you don't operate in the incorrect ones. So number 1 is the human wisdom. There's human wisdom. Human beings are not animals. God's created us with wisdom, common sense, which unfortunately is not so common. But we have the ability to study science, maths, art, woodworking, sound, lighting, engineering, health, medicine, all these things, plants, biology, herbs, cookery, and on it goes. Man's got some wisdom, but human wisdom is not enough, because human wisdom only operates on this level, on the here and now and the seen. Are you with me? And so as a result of that, it has limits. Also, human wisdom operates on reason and feeling. And human wisdom, listen, changes with fashion, changes with time, changes with era. What was once human wisdom is not human wisdom anymore. Number 2, let me take you to the second one, demonic wisdom. Demonic wisdom. Demonic wisdom is inspired by Satan. Most people don't think there's a devil. It's like Santa Claus, he doesn't exist. No, the devil exists, and his goal is to destroy. Not just to change your thinking, but to destroy you. Jesus said the thief comes but to kill, steal, and destroy. John 10:10. But I have come, he said, that you might have life. So the devil's goal is to destroy. He will use human wisdom, but his ultimate goal would be to take you down a road where you think what you're doing is wise, but it leads to your destruction. Adam and Eve in the garden. What did God say? Did God really say? Oh, come on. If you take this fruit, guess what? You're going to be wiser than God. So they believed the lie, thought his wisdom would give them more, but his wisdom gave them less. Are you with me? Number 3. Are you being helped today? Divine wisdom. You see, divine wisdom is the third kind of wisdom, and it operates up here, if you like, at the roof. It looks down and sees like a helicopter. It sees things that human wisdom and demonic wisdom can't see. It sees purpose. It sees divinely the beginning from the end. And we need to follow divine wisdom. And divine wisdom has everything you need for life. Look at this truth on the screen with me. There's no situation, issue, or challenge in your life that the wisdom of God doesn't have an answer for. Let's read about the 3 kinds of wisdom here in James chapter 3. And James speaking here says, who is wise and understanding among you? He's asking a question. Well, let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in humility that comes from wisdom. Not just talk, but action. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly, in other words, human, unspiritual. That's the word psychikos, speaks of the soul, and then demonic. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you will find what? Disorder. Can you see that? And every evil practice. But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure. Here you can see the fruit. Pure, peace-loving, considerate. Considerate. You think about others. Come on now. Wisdom shows itself in every way. Before you walk out of your marriage, you consider someone who's been faithful. We've been married 47 years. There's been a lot of consideration here. He says you're submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. You see, when it says that it's human, and then it says it's unspiritual, and then even demonic, do you know, unspiritually is not a good description. The word there in the Greek is actually psychikos, which means of the soul. Psychology is a study of the soul. You need to study your soul, but you can't live by your soul. Go to a psychologist, let them analyze you and talk to you, but we don't live by our soul. We don't live by human wisdom, we don't live by feeling, we don't live by demonic wisdom. We bring our feelings in line with God's wisdom. So when our feelings tell us something, we submit it to God's wisdom. So whose wisdom are you following, and where are you getting your wisdom from? Because there are 3 kinds of wisdom. Number 2. Can you believe we got to number 2? You need to respect and value divine wisdom if you want to receive it. Because you'll only receive what you respect. Isn't that true? You don't listen to people you don't respect. So if you disregard God's wisdom, you're not going to receive it. You've got to go, hang on a minute, I hugely respect what God says, and I value his wisdom. Let's read some scripture to confirm that. Psalm 111 verse 10. Fear of the Lord is the foundation of true wisdom. All who obey his commandments will grow in wisdom. Well, the NIV explains it a bit more simply. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. All who follow his precepts have good understanding. What does fear of the Lord mean? It doesn't mean you're scared. It means you reverence. It's an old-fashioned term which meant reverence and honor for God. He says, if you say, God, you're right, I respect you, what you say is true, that's the beginning of wisdom. Goes on in Proverbs chapter 9 and verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. Proverbs 15 and verse 33. The fear of the Lord teaches a man wisdom. Number 3, quickly, hunger and keep growing in wisdom. Hunger and keep growing in wisdom. You've got to hunger for wisdom. You've got to be thirsty for it. If you don't desire it, it's probably because you think you've got it. You never desire something you think you've got. And when you've got education, you've got a degree, or you read a lot. I read a lot. I read 3 books minimum every week, sometimes up to 6. But that education is not enough. You can read and study, but the wisdom of God from the Word is most important. Are you hearing me? And we need to hunger for it. You need to desire it.